He attacked his mother-in-law with an iron bar and began stabbing her repeatedly, but he didn't see the nails sticking out. Blood poured as his intestines coiled below him. Most often, it would simply crush the person's skull with its feet. When you eat corn, it looks like corn comes out whole in your poop. When early humans pooped, they didn't have to wipe, and this was because they squatted instead of. Diarrhea exploded from the woman, splattering the seats and dribbling down the aisle.
If you've been paying any attention to Zack D films recently, you know something has changed. It's not just you. It's not just me. Pretty much everyone who's been following his content for a while has noticed it too. Zack D films, the guy who used to bless us with random, quirky, fun facts, the one who made you feel a little bit smarter after every short, has gone through a pretty insane transformation. And trust me, the internet has not been quiet about it. Let's rewind a little. Back in the earlier days, Zack D films felt like a breath of fresh air on YouTube Shorts. He would make quick videos explaining stuff like why Cheetos are orange, why we hiccup, or crazy historical facts you never learned in school. They were educational, fascinating, and they had this lighthearted, almost innocent vibe to them. Sure, sometimes the facts were a little weird, but it was the good kind of weird, the kind that made you curious about the world around you. It was the type of content you could send to your little brother, your grandma, or your friends, and everybody would just say, huh, that's interesting. Fast forward to now, and Zack's channel feels like an entirely different universe. Instead of learning why flamingos are pink, you're learning about women exploding with diarrhea on airplanes.
Diarrhea exploded from the woman, splattering the seats and dribbling down.
Instead of hearing about cool survival stories, you're hearing about nails ripping people's intestines open.
Right into the pool, but he didn't see the nails sticking out. Blood poured as his intestines coiled below him.
Or elephants impaling criminals with metal spikes.
The elephant would impale convicted criminals in ancient Asia.
The energy shifted from, wow, fun fact, to, holy shit, what the hell did I just watch? And the craziest part is, this change didn't happen overnight. It was slow, subtle at first, but now it's undeniable. If you go through the Reddit threads, and I did in painful detail, you'll see tons of longtime fans feeling the same whiplash. People are saying things like,
what's your opinion on Zack D films?
Best shorts on YT, and they're informative.
But sometimes the animation can go a bit dark.
Dark? No. Traumatic animation.
The child stuck in the tube caught me off guard so quickly. Oh,
perfect for when you want to lose your appetite.
What's going on with Zack D films content? Has anyone noticed he is posting a lot more gore/graphic related content lately? He blurs, pixelates the graphic elements, but it just feels like all of his recent videos are gravitating towards this particular style of content. He posts strange things in general, but it's just getting a bit odd.
The biggest complaint, and it's a fair one, is that Zack has started leaning heavily into shock value.
Shock value. It's purely made to catch eyes, and most of his audience are there for shocking stories, but he just took the shock to the next level, to the point where it involves gore, graphic scene.
Instead of focusing on weird but wholesome information, he's chasing the stuff that triggers the strongest reactions. Disgust, horror, disbelief. Because it works. More comments, more engagement, more views. And let's be real. If you see a video titled, "Woman Explodes with Diarrhea on Airplane," are you really not gonna click? You don't want to, but your brain is like, wait, what? And before you know it, you're 30 seconds deep, traumatized for life. And to make it even more obvious, a lot of people pointed out that Zack leaves out important details on purpose. In the old days, he used to explain the full context, where an event happened, who was involved, what year it took place.
In 1848, a large iron rod drove through the face and head of a man. In 2015, a doctor found a leech living inside a...
Now, it's always vague. A man wants a woman somewhere. In ancient times, no names, no locations, no dates.
The gum exploded inside his mouth the moment he... The robber fired the gun right at his head, but at the same time...
Zack D Films is constantly making videos about crazy stories, but never crediting the actual sources. Example, if you look at this video, you will see no names of people nor locations mentioned. It's always in 20-something, a group, woman, man, boy, has inserting crazy stories, but never stating the names. If you decide to do some research, you'd find Zack D Films referring to this woman. He could just posting a news article in the description, but he chose not to put anything at all. all. Probably a conspiracy, but I think he did this to avoid being called out if his story was deemed wrong or fake. Kinda sad seeing him from posting educational video to being literal content farm.
At first, you might think it's just lazy storytelling, but the Reddit detectives figured it out. Zack wants you to be confused. He wants you to be curious, because confused people comment. They argue, they search, they fight in the replies, and all of that skyrockets the engagement on his videos. It's actually a brilliant, if slightly manipulative, strategy.
Honestly, it's likely more so he's omitting these details, so people will comment the people's names. More comments equals algorithm boost. Similar tactic a lot of movie clip re-upload channels do, where they intentionally omit the movie name, so people will comment asking for the movie name. It's a slippery slope to people believing things without sources though, but we're all guilty of that.
Some people on Reddit even theorize that Zack's new obsession with death and poop is a pure business move. Shock content gets shared faster, it spreads easier, it gets reactions immediately. You might be grossed out, but you're going to remember it. And in the world of YouTube Shorts, memory equals money. Of course, not everyone hates it. There's still a huge section of fans who love the WTF factor of his new stuff. They call his videos perfect infotainment and say they love the educational jump scares.
Zack D is my homie, don't diss my G on phoneme grave.
Why are we complaining that his content is getting cooler?
To them, the trauma is part of the charm. And honestly, if you ask me, I think this is a double-edged sword. Zack found a formula that works right now. A perfect storm of curiosity, disgust, and chaos. But the more he leans into it, the further he drifts from what made people love him in the first place. It's like eating candy for dinner every night. It feels good for a while, until you realize you're kind of sick of it and you miss real food. And from what I've seen, a lot of people are already starting to feel that way. They miss the old Zack, the guy who made you curious about the world, not disgusted by it. They miss the wholesome weirdness, not the diarrhea explosions and disemboweled construction workers. But hey, that's the YouTube game, right? Adapt or die. And right now, Zack D Films is very much alive, even if his content looks like it belongs in a horror movie instead of a science classroom. But hey, maybe we are just being hard on the guy. Maybe he just ran out of some video ideas and probably needs some time to find his footing. Okay, now that we've talked about how Zack D Films content has shifted into the wild world of trauma shorts, it's only right that we dive into some of his recent videos and actually break them down. And let me just say this up front, these videos are absolutely insane. Let's react to some of them, one by one. Starting off with a video about boiling your pee for water.
If you collected your pee, boiled it, and filtered it several times, you'd be left with water. And you pee about
You know, sometimes in life you hear things you didn't need to know, and this was one of those times.
half a gallon per day, which adds up to almost 200 gallons a year. For all 8 billion people on Earth,
wow, man. Damn.
it would be enough pee to fill up the world's largest building. Now, pee is actually about 95% water.
Okay.
And if recycled for 1 year, it could provide 4 years worth of water for New York City.
The next one, this one went dark real quick. In ancient Asia, Zack says, elephants were trained to impale criminals, crush their skulls, or yank their limbs off with their trunks.
The elephant would impale convicted criminals in ancient Asia, using the sharp metal spikes attached to its tusks. And it would also use its trunk to yank off limbs, making for a slow and painful death.
He explains it in horrifying detail, including how a trainer could stop the execution if a pardon was granted. It's fascinating history, sure, but again, the amount of violence and gore Zack fits into a 40-second short is genuinely impressive.
Most often, it would simply crush the person's skull with its feet. But there was always a trainer,
and disturbing at the same time. Imagine if he didn't blur the video.
When early humans pooped, they didn't have to wipe. And this was because they squatted instead of sitting, which helped everything come out quickly. And they also ate a lot of raw plants.
Every day I ask myself why I still follow you.
Which were full of fiber. This made their poop firm and dry, so nothing really stuck. But
this was fucking useful information.
As we started eating softer, processed foods, our poop became stickier. Now, instead of coming out clean, it smears as it's pushed out.
You could have said all this without animating it. Bro showed the poop animations 4 times in 10 seconds how...
When you eat corn, it looks like corn comes out whole in your poop. So what would happen if you ate nothing but...
Zack, which drugs makes you obsessed with poops? Nigga, why always so high? Thank you, Zack. I've always wondered this.